Welcome to the course of Research Methodology in Natural Sciences. And this is the week 3 discussion. And I am Udiptya from IIT Madras. So, going ahead, uh, this week's videos were focused on the development of science and influence of philosophy in this. So, there were various stages that essentially saw this how the way of thinking in science developed. Yeah, so the first part was on the emergence of materialism and idealism, and basically transition from materialism to idealism, which essentially was in the form of primitive materialism, which basically surrounded across surrounded uh, with things that people usually saw in and around them: the sun, the moon, the hills, the stones. So it was the primitive materialism thought process. So they observed whatever things, and uh, they got the science behind it, or were curious about it. But then with when so basically it started in the age of hunting and gathering, and then spanned to the ages of agriculture, where people could grow their food, and people can store. And when the people started storing, there were also some uh, the tribals, they used to fight with the tribal groups used to fight with each others. And then they used to cover this agricultural fields, and then they would capture the defeated parties and make them slave. So there was a transition from in the being working on their own to being working through the slaves. So it was a slave owning populations were also growing. So at that time, people who were slave owners used to not work, and they used to basically develop the science ahead. And then there was a time of idealism. Basically, that was the transition from materialism to idealism, when people used to have the idea as the forefront of things. And that's the time when a lot of developments happened in the form of Pythagoras, who came up with his shapes. And basically the Greek society developed a lot in this time. Then going ahead, uh, with this we had the Renaissance time, where we see the development of mechanical materialism. So the onset of idealism did one thing, is that they had made a belief system for kings and the church. The king and the church was something that people used to not question, and that's was something that people would get influenced with whatever they used to say. But then the Renaissance time, a lot of people used had developed a lot of experiments in which they observed. So people like Copernicus, Galileo Galilei, because essentially he also made the telescope, so he could also study the solar system. So they also had kind of like similar thoughts, like Copernicus told about the solar system, how it worked, because essentially before it was mostly the Earth-centered solar system, Earth-centered system basically, in which Earth is the center and other things rotate around it. But then Copernicus come with the idea that no, it's not like that. It's a sun center basically, and all planets rotate around it. Then it was verified by Galileo Galilei, because he that time discovered invented the telescope basically. But they couldn't convince the church as a result, and I think Galileo then spent a lot of his years in jail also. So a lot of like that event happened. I think Kepler also was one scientist who also came in this era, and he also studied the planetary motions. And then the Kepler's law of planetary motion was something that was developed at this time. Then comes the development of scientific method, which essentially was carried on by three major scientists: Galileo Galilei, Francis Bacon, and René Descartes. So Galileo, essentially, you have already saw, yeah, he invented the uh, telescope, and then he also used to emphasize the ideas of quantifying every item or every measurement, essentially. And then came Francis Bacon, who also proposed the idea of organized science, where like he wanted people to collect themselves and do an experiment, so that the biases that come with a single experiment or a single observer is negated, and then such societies can be made where people can discuss their ideas. And also a scientific method, essentially, in which you do first experiment, uh, observation, and have a inference was developed. Then came Rene Descartes, who was essentially somebody who had told that you can like divide the problems, or divide your broader question into smaller questions, and then answer them using deductive logic. And he was also somebody who was very emphasized on using algebra and geometry, essentially, because he was somebody who developed the Cartesian system. Yeah, and he was named after that also. Then came Newton, who was essentially somebody in the era where, after Galileo, Bacon, and Descartes, there were a lot of other scientists like Robert Boyle coming up with his gas law, then Robert Hooke coming up with his Hooke's law of elasticity, then Leeuwenhoek coming up with his invention of microscope and essentially discovery of microorganisms. So a lot of experiments happened, and then came Newton, who was somebody who gave the three laws of motion, okay, and also the law of gravitation. So in this, he made something that you can predict the future, essentially, because with all the equations, you essentially can predict the mechanics of a item. Yeah, and that realization, or that simulation, was something that dispelled many scientific beliefs. Yeah, so this was something. Then came the mechanical materialism, which was another term in which people saw that everything, every item, every entity in a universe has a fixed law against it. So it was another thought process, or another school of thinking. Then the way ahead, yeah, it was empiricism, mature idealism, positivism, and evolution, essentially evolution and science, finally. And also some science in ancient India is something we saw here. So as I discussed already, it was journey from materialism to idealism, how it progressed from early period of human society, idealism, which was around 5th century BC, and scientific method after that. Yeah, prediction of systems future state was something that was a Newton's law, a Newton's contribution to the study. Yeah, very profound at that time. And this was the journey ahead. We can discuss this essentially. So coming to the problems, yeah, the Greek philosopher Empedocles believed that everything in the world is made of four elements: air, water, earth, and fire. This is an example of okay. Okay, so anybody want to speak up? Why? Let's see.
Sir, please brief about what is subjective materialism and objective materialism.
Subjective objective is similar. Then the idealism, and it's just the conjugation of how two ideas here. Subjective is similar that how what we discussed in the last class, and objective is also similar. And then idealism is separately what we have discussed before, and materialism is also something that we have discussed.
No, to what we call subjective and for what we call objective.
Yeah. Okay. We'll see that. Okay. Yeah. So the answer here is, yeah, subjective materialism. Particularly because here we see a Greek philosopher. He has believed, yeah. So believing something is something. Believing something essentially tells us that it's something on the subject. That is, the subject is believing, yeah, on four elements. So here we are talking about four elements: air, water, earth, and fire. So these are something that is material based, yeah. That's not idea based. It's a material based approach. So that's why it is, for the belief it's subjective, and for the elements it is materialism. I hope it's clear, yeah.
What is meant by objective materialism then?
Objective materialism, objective is similar what how it is separate from, but it's not like all the options would have would have a meaning though. That's just the wordplay it can be.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll go ahead then. Okay. In the method of science, Francis Bacon emphasized the importance of, okay. Okay, answers, please. Okay. Okay, anyway, A is out of question. Yeah, so A is not there. Then the other options.
Francis Bacon observes the nature on a large scale with the cooperation of scientists, and he gave the inductive logic. There is nothing about mathematics. For B and D.
Okay. What's the application of inductive logic here?
Yeah, he emphasizes on inductive logic.
How?
It was given in the lecture.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Experiment, observation, and then inference is given.
Okay. Any other? Okay. So primarily, Francis Bacon was somebody who argued that so far we have that time people have essentially wasted their time on delving on the old belief system, and they have not observed the nature. Hello, somebody has unmuted. Okay, yeah, please unmute yourself. Okay. So it essentially told that their people have not observed the nature properly. Yeah. So that's the task now. He told that let's build a force, let's build a group of scientists so that they can observe the uh, general features, yeah, in the nature, and then they can use theories using inductive logic, and so that they can be a well organized and well equipped body of researcher workers who can make this condensed sense of uh, facts which can uncover the truth. So essentially that's how the application of inductive logic comes, because he emphasized that people should come together and observe the general features of the nature. So the answers are observation, collection of data, and application of inductive logic. Okay. Application of maths is something that was not much told or like professed by him. Yeah. According to Pythagoras, the ideal geometric figure was.
Right angle triangle.
Okay.
It is circle C. With this, we can draw all the figures.
Mm-hmm. All the figures.
Pythagoras 3, 4, 5 na?
What is your answer?
Answer A.
Okay. So the answer here is circle, essentially because Pythagoras, they observed that all the heavenly bodies are circular, yeah, or essentially sphere or circle, and all the spherical, these heavenly bodies also go around in circular paths. So that's how the ideal geometric figure was something like a circle. That's what was something that was believed by Pythagoras. Yeah, it's not the sadly not the right angle triangle. During the onset of idealism, people believed the number 10 to be the ideal. Okay, so we saw the number, the shape being ideal, and also there were number 10, which is considered to be ideal. So there must be 10 heavenly bodies: Earth, Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, and two others.
Neptune,
Okay.
Uranus, Neptune,
Okay. Others?
water and air,
Huh?
water and air,
Water and air. Okay. Nope. One answer we have got, it's counter Earth. So one of the answers is counter Earth.
sky,
Huh?
sky,
Sky, by sky you mean? Okay. So the answer essentially is the celestial hemisphere of stars and the counter Earth. I think counter Earth you told that, yeah. So one of you told about the sky though, but yeah. So they told that counter Earth was something that was not visible. Yeah, it was not visible because they used to believe that it is not visible from the northern hemisphere. So they used to tell, okay, counter Earth is something that exists but not visible from us. What was the Copernican idea of a solar system? Okay,
Sun at the center, all other planets moving around it.
okay. Only one answer or?
Only one.
Okay.
C and D, epicyclic motion of planets and sun at the center and all around, all moving around it.
What is epicyclic motion anyway?
It is like spiral motion of planet.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like a spiral.
Okay. So the answer here is only the sun at the center and other planets moving around it. The epicyclic motion of planets was essentially given by Ptolemy. Yeah. Who tell that basically this being the orbit and this the planet also used to have their own epicyclic motion. So circles over circles basically. So the answer is the Copernican idea used to be the sun at the center and all other planets around it. Kind of a GK question. Okay.
Post-Vedic age.
Okay. The answer is post-Vedic age, yeah. So, question number 7 is all mechanisms have a few characteristic features. First, they have parts that fit together. Second, they require motive force to set them going. Third, the parts interact. Which group of scientists believed in such thoughts?
Subjective idealists.
Okay.
It's mechanical materialists because parts are given in the question.
Okay. So the answer here is mechanical materialists basically. So they had that created a picture of a universe where everything is in motion following fixed laws. Yeah. So it saw the stars and planets as moving in specific orbits, obeying the laws of motion, like the hands of a clock. So the whole universe is a gigantic machine. Yeah. That's what was mechanical materialism kind of thing. So the answer is mechanical materialism, as most of you have told. So, what is the main difference in the schools of thinking of materialism and positivism?
Materialism is about studying not only things but also changing processes.
Okay. But what's the difference?
And positivism it says about the whatever is not observable is not real.
Okay, so what's the difference? Yeah, any answers, please?
Like a physical and emotional, sir. Materialism, it comes under physical, no?
Okay.
Activism, it's totally we are dealing with the emotions.
That's like idealism or kind of, or like, yeah, it's not.
And if we take materialism, we experiment, we experience by doing something.
Okay.
Whereas in positivity, we feel
Mm,
under some obligation.
mhm. So there is actually a sharp line of difference here between positivists and materialists. So the first group, yeah, the positivists, let's talk about them. So they treat anything as real unless it is observable. Okay. But materialists believe that matter exists independently of our consciousness. The reality of any concept does not depend on our ability to observe it. So that's the two. Uh, that's the two way of thinking. Yeah, positivist will need to observe it to believe that thing exists. Okay, but material is something that basically tells okay, those things exist whether we can observe it, perceive it or not. So that's the two way of thinking. That's the main difference here between materialism and positivism. Okay. Is it okay or should we discuss it more? Cool.
Any other example can you give, please?
Any other example? For example, you think about at that time, Dalton came about with atomic theory. Yeah? So the positivistic people didn't couldn't digest that idea because atoms were something that we couldn't perceive. But then a lot of experiments were done by Einstein or so, or a lot of people like that. Yeah, Maxwell, Boltzmann, they came with their Maxwell theory. Yeah, and then Einstein himself came up with the idea of molecules. Yeah, atoms coming together and making molecules. Then the concepts of viscosity, coefficient of diffusion, all that was experimented and shown. So that was completely a materialistic approach of things. Because and then when Einstein did all of these things, a lot of other people like van der Waals, Boltzmann, they all van der Waals got Nobel Prize, and no, Boltzmann I think didn't get, because they didn't give it posthumous, like after death they don't give. He died before. He was nominated essentially, I think. But then that's the way, yeah. So that's the way, because the people who believed in positivism couldn't take the idea of atoms and molecules and all such things. That's what it is. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. So the observable is something that is the key difference here. Yeah, that makes all the difference. Otherwise, it's kind of similar. Yeah. Where did the mechanical materialist program of understanding all changes in terms of interaction of particles fail? Answers? Somebody want to speak up? Yeah.
So those scholars turned back to idealism. Maybe because of that it would have been failed.
Okay, but what was the turning point essentially? Because as we discussed about the downfall of
And
positivism.
they talked about prime mover.
Hmm?
They introduced the idea of prime mover
Prime over
because of
means
that.
okay. So the answer then. So the answer essentially is it could not explain the nature of development, the emergence of new qualities. Like you see, how a seed from a seed, how you get a plant. Yeah, if everything was a mechanical machine getting so much integrity of so many uh, function, and how it one seed can generate a plant, or how with the fusion of a mother and the father cell how we get a baby. Yeah, that's something that was not. And also the concepts of evolution as such, that essentially have a development associated with it, was something that was not explained properly by mechanical materialist people. So essentially, then we had a downfall of it. Okay. Is it okay? Yeah. So evolution was something that was very important. That was something that couldn't be explained by the mechanical materialists. The developmental biology, thermodynamics, yeah, a lot of such topics. William Paley argued there is evolution in the biological world. Each organism is a produce of intelligent design. The earth rotates around its axis. The earth is flat. Okay. Oh, my screen is. Sorry. I got my connection got. Yeah, now I think that my connection was not disconnected actually. So the answer is
There is evolution in the biological world.
okay. Other answers? Only one answer? Or is it?
Earth rotates around its axis.
Okay.
I think Earth rotates around its axis is, and one more is each organism is a product of intelligent design.
So the answer is each organism is a product of intelligent design, and that's the only answer. So he was a this William Paley. He was going through a forest. Yeah, he just no, he gave this argument that if I go through a forest and I see a stone, there will be no questions in my mind. Yeah, but then in a forest, if you see a watch, it will surely raise a question. Yeah, because that's a machine. Yeah, how it can be there? So that's the thing. In this world, we are something that is the our living body is such a complex machine, yeah, complex design. It has a lot of functions. So it must have been done by somebody who is a like a designer, the best kind of designer, the intelligent designer, yeah, that the designer of the natural world. So that's what he argued that. So that's the result that he told that each organism is a product of intelligent design, and the intelligent designer being the god or the supreme power in sense. Yeah, that's all for today. Any questions? We can take that up.